not every Marvel icon was born from careful planning. Some of the biggest heroes and villains started as accidents, side characters, throwaway experiments, or one-off ideas that exploded into legends. A background figure sketched as filler who became the face of a billion-dollar franchise. A villain rushed onto the page who grew into a cosmic powerhouse, and a supporting character meant for one issue who redefined the Marvel Universe. These weren't mistakes forgotten. They were accidents that shaped history. So which accidents became icons? Here are 10 Marvel characters never meant to rise. At number 10 is Living Colossus. The giant stone statue first appeared in Tales of Suspense, issue 14 in 1961, with Jack Kirby on pencils. Like Groot, Xemnu, and other anthology giants of the era, it was never intended to be part of the Marvel Universe. He was one of the many Monster of the Week creations of early Silver Age Marvel, appearing again in Tales of Suspense number 20 before disappearing. At the time, he was simply a spectacle, a menace to be defeated and forgotten. But years later, Marvel realized these strange creatures carried unique power. In 1973, it returned in Astonishing Tales issue 21, reimagined by Tony Isabella and Dick Ayers. This time, the statue was animated through the mind of Bob O'Brien, a special effects artist giving the Colossus a personality and a path into ongoing continuity. The original one-off monster vanished because Marvel rewrote him into a recurring figure. From forgotten anthology pages to later team-ups, the Living Colossus, became a survivor of Marvel's monster age. At number 9, we have Adam Warlock, who was first known simply as him. He made his debut in 1967 across Fantastic Four, issues 66 and 67, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. In those early Silver Age pages, he was little more than a mysterious figure, a golden-skinned artificial man born from a cocoon in the Enclave's laboratory, rebelling against his creators before leaving Earth. He had no name, no costume, and no mission. He was meant to be a one-off, a strange twist in the Fantastic Four's world, but Marvel later realized that him held far greater potential. In 1972, Marvel Premiere #1 reintroduced him under a new name, Adam Warlock, crafted by Roy Thomas and Gil Kane. This complete reinvention gave him a costume, the Soul Gem, and a cosmic quest on Counter-Earth guided by the High Evolutionary. The vague experiment from the Fantastic Four vanished because Marvel rewrote him into a mythic hero. From prototype to cosmic legend, Adam Warlock became one of Marvel's defining spacefaring champions. At number 8, we have Dr. Henry Hank Pym, the first Ant-Man. He first appeared in Tales to Astonish issue 27 in January 1962 in a short science fiction story called The Man in the Ant Hill. In that tale, Pym discovered a shrinking serum, tested it on himself, survived a terrifying encounter inside an anthill, and destroyed the formula, deciding it was far too dangerous to keep. Nothing about this story suggested a superhero. Just 8 months later, Marvel changed course. In Tales to Astonish issue 35, Pym returned, this time in costume as Ant-Man, armed with a helmet to communicate with insects and a mission to fight crime with his army of ants. What began as a one-off experiment was reimagined into an ongoing series. Readers accepted the transformation, and Ant-Man stayed as a regular feature until issue 69, later evolving into Giant Man, Goliath, and Yellow Jacket. That first version of Hank Pym vanished because Marvel rewrote him from a regretful scientist into a superhero. From an abandoned short story, Ant-Man became a founding Avenger and one of Marvel's most important legacies. At number 7, we have Paste Pot Pete, later known as the Trapster. He first appeared in Strange Tales issue 104 in January 1963, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. At his debut, Pete was nothing more than a quirky foe for Johnny Storm's solo stories, armed with a glue gun and wearing a purple jumpsuit while lugging around an actual paste pot. The name Paste Pot Pete itself was meant as a gag, highlighting how lighthearted and minor this villain really was. But very quickly, Marvel realized the mistake. The name was mocked by readers, by the bullpen, and even inside the comics, when Spider-Man laughed in Pete's face. In Fantastic Four issue 38, only 2 years later, Pete himself declared he was done with that ridiculous name, choosing instead to call himself the Trapster. His look and weapons were upgraded, and he was slotted into the Frightful Four to be taken seriously. The original version vanished because Marvel corrected their blunder. From comic relief, Pastepot Pete was rewritten into the Trapster, a second-tier but lasting villain who still appears across Marvel stories today. At number 6 is Dr. Droom. He debuted in Amazing Adventures issue 1 in June 1961, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, making him Marvel's earliest Silver Age mystic hero. At the time, however, he was not intended to become a lasting superhero. His short stories followed psychiatrist Anthony Droom, who traveled to Tibet, gained hypnotic and telepathic powers, and fought off aliens. After just 5 anthology tales, Marvel dropped him completely. The reason was simple. He was only a filler character in a monster mystery title, not a planned cornerstone of Marvel's growing superhero line. Years later, Marvel realized they had this forgotten magician buried in their archives. By then, Dr. Doom was already a household name, and Droom was far too similar. In 1976 reprints, Marvel rewrote him as Dr. Druid, even altering the old dialogue to replace the name. To integrate him, they tied his training to the Ancient One, connecting him to Doctor Strange's world. Marvel initially had no plans for Dr. Droom as a lasting hero, leading to his eventual rewrite. At number 5, we have Forbush Man. He made his full debut in Not Brand Ek number 5 in December 1967, though his image appeared on the cover of the first issue a few months earlier. But long before that, Irving Forbush was only an office gag, a fake name Stan Lee invented in the 1950s to poke fun at Marvel's bullpen. He was never designed as a superhero. When Marvel decided to publish Not Brand Ek, a satirical series, they turned this running joke into Forbush Man, dressed in red long johns, a cooking pot for a helmet, and rubber boots. The idea was a quick laugh, not a character Marvel ever planned to carry forward. Yet once the issue hit, fans enjoyed the parody, and Forbush Man unexpectedly became the mascot of Marvel's humor comics. He popped up in multiple issues, survived as trivia, and later was given his own parody universe, Earth 665. He was never planned, but the Silver Age put him in the spotlight anyway. At number 4 is Xemnu, the living titan, originally called the Living Hulk, who first appeared in Journey into Mystery issue 62 in November 1960. Created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee during Marvel's Monster Anthology era, Xemnu was introduced as a one-off alien creature who escaped captivity and tried to conquer Earth. In this debut, he was called the Hulk, a full year before Bruce Banner's Hulk existed. The plan was simple: tell a short sci-fi monster tale, defeat the creature, and never bring him back. Marvel never intended Xemnu to be part of an ongoing universe, and he effectively vanished after that issue. The accident came later. When Marvel launched The Incredible Hulk in 1962, the name clash became obvious. To fix it, the earlier Hulk was retroactively renamed Xemnu. Years afterward, in the 1970s, writers revived him as a villain for the new Hulk, turning an abandoned monster into a recurring foe. Fans now saw Xemnu as a strange survivor from Marvel's pre-hero days, a character Marvel never planned to release into continuity. At number 3 is Fang Foom. In 1961, before the Fantastic Four even appeared, Marvel filled its books with giant monsters. One of them was Fang Foom, who stormed onto the pages of Strange Tales issue 89. Drawn by Jack Kirby and written by Stan Lee and Larry Lieber, he was introduced as a towering dragon awakened by a scheming soldier in China. He rampaged for a few pages, was put back to sleep, and that was the end. Marvel never intended him to return. He was just another monster of the month, printed to fill space in a science fiction anthology. The accident was that Fang Foom's wild design and unforgettable name made him too memorable to vanish. Marvel had no plan to release him as a lasting character, yet years later, writers revived him. They redefined him as an alien from the planet Kakarana Thara, a creature who could fit into superhero continuity. From a throwaway dragon, Fang Foom became Marvel's most famous monster, proving that even a one-off Silver Age creation can become a legend. At number 2 is Groot. In November 1960, before Marvel's superheroes had even arrived, readers opened Tales to Astonish issue 13 and met a strange creature called Groot. He was drawn by Jack Kirby, scripted by Larry Lieber, and billed as a monstrous tree man from Planet X. His story was simple. He came to Earth, towering over a terrified village, determined to capture humans for experiments. In the end, he was defeated by termites and disappeared. His tale closed with finality because Marvel never planned to release Groot as anything more than a one-shot monster in its anthology line. For years, he lay forgotten. The accident was that Marvel underestimated the lasting charm of his bizarre name and design. In the 1970s, he resurfaced briefly, but it was in 2006 that he was rewritten into something new. A heroic alien who spoke only 3 words, yet carried immense heart. That reinvention turned a disposable monster into a global icon. Groot, once destined for oblivion, grew into one of Marvel's most beloved heroes. At number 1, we have the Silver Surfer. He first appeared in Fantastic Four, issue 48 in 1966, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby as part of the Galactus storyline. But this wasn't a character Marvel had prepared or even discussed beforehand. When Jack Kirby drew the pages, he believed a being as powerful as Galactus would never personally handle every task, so he penciled in a mysterious silver-skinned herald riding a cosmic board without any note or approval. Stan Lee was surprised to see this new figure in the artwork, instantly fascinated by the potential. The Surfer entered the story as an outsider, a being who questioned Galactus and risked everything to save a world he barely understood. Fans connected with him faster than Marvel expected. His story continued through the Galactus trilogy, and in 1968, he earned his own title. He shifted from a silent herald to a tragic hero exiled on Earth, longing for freedom and struggling to understand humanity. What began as an unplanned addition to a single storyline became one of Marvel's most iconic cosmic champions.